What's going on, you guys? It's Cody Steck. Welcome back to another video here on the channel, Living in Salt Lake City. Everything you need to know about living in Salt Lake. Today, we're going to be talking about whether you should buy or build a home when making your move here to Utah. This is a question that I get a lot, and I want to finally give you some pros and cons to both situations so you can kind of make a decision on what's going to be the better option for you personally. If you still got questions after watching this video, make sure to get in touch with me. Call me, text me, or email me anytime. I'm more than happy to chat and discuss a little bit more about your situation. Particularly if you've got questions on location or price or just your situation in general, I'd be happy to help. You can always get in touch with me. Like I said, my information's here on the screen. I've had people from all across the world reach out to me, and I absolutely cannot wait to hear from you as well. So with that being said, let's jump right into this. So like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about pros and cons of both scenarios. First, I want to talk about some of the pros of building a home. Now, I should say that, when I get this question, people want to know, hey, what's the difference, right? And the way that I always kind of explain this is that when you're building a home versus buying a home, it's very similar to like buying a used car. There are going to be some differences to buying a used car versus buying a new car, just like there will be with buying a new house versus buying an existing home. So let's talk about some of the pros that you get when you're building a new home. Number one is that it's a brand new home. It's a home that's never been lived in and it doesn't have any issues with it. The builder is going to do their best to deliver a home to you that is in the best condition possible. Theoretically, it should be 100%, right? So they're going to give you a home that, in essence is going to be perfect, right? So everything will work. The doors will close, the windows will work, the roof is going to be good, the kitchen will be good, the cabinets will close. I mean, everything's going to be really nice with this brand new home because it's never been lived in. And one of the other things I want to say is that you're not going to have any major repairs with the house either. The roof is going to be brand new, the walls are brand new, the sheetrock's brand new, the paint's brand new, the furnace, the water heater, all of that's brand new. So you're not going to have to worry about any of those items for the very near future. This should get you at least the first 10 to 15 years without any major repairs on the home. And that's, can be a really big plus, especially if you're in a situation where you're like, I just want to live in the house. I don't want to have to worry about this. I just want to live there, enjoy it, and then spend my time elsewhere, enjoying what Utah has to offer. The second pro on our list here to building is that you don't have to compete with the market. This is one of the things that's kind of changed my opinion on, whether for most people it's better to build or to buy. With right now, with where the market's at, the market is extremely competitive. And I've been telling a lot of people, look, if you go the build route, you're not going to have to compete with the market. You're just going to go into the builder. They're going to say, here's what we've got. We've got these lots available. We've got these floor plans. Pick which one you want and you're good to go. You sign the contract, the builder signs the contract, and you get started right away. There's nothing holding you back from getting started on this process right away. So that's one of the really big pluses to being able to build a home is you don't have to jump into this crazy competitive market where you're going against 5, 10, even 15 different offers on one home, and then you're really bummed when you don't get that house, right? I do run into that situation. It is unfortunate, but it is something that, that is unfortunately the reality that we live in. And so that's kind of one of the pluses to being able to build is you're not gonna have to worry about that. The third pro that I want to list here on our list before we talk about some of the cons is that you get to choose all your upgrades in the house. You get to choose what color the walls are. You get to choose the cabinets. You get to choose the countertops, the hardware, how many lights you want. You get to choose if the basement's finished. You get to choose, the floor plan of the house. You get to choose the layout, whether you like this one or you like that one. You get to choose the elevation, what the house looks like from the outside. You get to basically choose everything when it comes to new construction. And that's one of the big pluses is that you get to customize it to exactly what you want. When I work with people who are looking at existing homes, it seems like almost every single time you walk into a house where people will say, hey, I love this house, man, I wish there was another bathroom here, or I wish this room was a little bit bigger, but we'll still take it. There's always kind of that one compromise it seems like on existing homes, no matter what price range you're in as well. Every single home has some drawbacks, unfortunately, and I do see that when you build a home, there's typically a lot less of those drawbacks. And so that's one of the big pluses with building is that you get to choose basically everything to make sure that it's up to what you actually like and it fits your style. All right, now let's talk about some of the cons to building a house. Number one, you are going to pay a premium when you build a home. Because it is brand new, it's kind of like buying a new car, you do pay a premium. Right now, I would estimate that because of how the market's moving, you are going to pay somewhere between 3 to 5% of a premium based off of if you were to buy that exact home on the existing market. It's really hard to compete because you're getting a brand new home that's never been lived in. So of course you are going to pay a little bit extra for that. In my opinion, a lot of cases, I think it could probably probably be worth it for most people. Even though you do pay a little bit extra, I think, some of the pros do outweigh that. So unfortunately, you do pay a little bit more, but you got to weigh those pros versus some of these cons. The second con on our list for building is that you do have to wait. In most cases, because the market is moving so quick, these builders are building kind of on demand. So you go in and you say, I want to start the build process. They're going to say, that's great, let's get this started. But it's going to be at least 6 to 8 months for them to go through that process and build with you, depending on how long it takes them to get the permits submitted and then actually start digging and building on the home. This process is going to take at least 6 to 8 months. On higher end homes, getting into the luxury space, it can easily take 12, 14, 18 months to complete a higher end home that has, that's going to take longer. It's going to take more architecture. It's going to take, more permits for all the different pieces that are moving around, and it's just going to take longer to build because it's bigger. So that is one of the cons, is that unfortunately it does take a little bit of time. You don't get to move in right away. And the third con I want to talk about is that unfortunately you don't really get to negotiate. In cases like this where the builders have enough demand coming in their door every single day, they basically set the price, and that's the price that you pay. You don't get to negotiate like you might in a general scenario. Now we're going to talk about that a little bit here in a second when we talk about some of the pros and cons of existing homes, but I think this kind of con that we're talking about, being not being able to negotiate, might actually not be that big of a deal when you consider all the factors that are going on in the market right now. Okay, so now we've knocked out some of the pros and cons to building. Some of the pros and cons to buying an existing home will be kind of the countermeasure of that, but there's also going to be some differences here that we want to talk about. As we jump into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I actually see data that less than 1/5 of the people who watch my channel here are actually subscribed to the channel. If you want to stay up to date on everything you need to know about living, working, eating, sleeping, and playing here along the Wasatch Front here in Utah, you need to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date when I release new videos just like this. With that said, let's jump into the pros of buying an existing home. Okay, pro number one that I want to talk about when buying an existing home is that you get to move in right away. This kind of counteracts the second con that we had with building a new home, because when you buy an existing home, you get to move in within generally about 30 days. Going from the time of making an offer to closing on the home, this process generally takes 30 days. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more, but in essence, you get to move in within about a month. That can be a big positive, especially if you're kind of on a timeline. The second pro that I want to talk about with existing homes is that you might get a better location. If you want to be in a more established location, you want to be in a more established neighborhood, you don't want that construction going on around you, or you just want to be close to a lot of amenities, buying an existing home might be the better option for you. Obviously, some of the best land goes first, and that's the best land that gets sold and built on as time progresses. So a lot of the best lots, a lot of the best land, unfortunately, does get built on sooner. So you might have to go existing if you want one of those premium lots. That's not always the case. There are great lots when it comes to building. There's a lot of, really desirable lots as well with new construction, but you just kind of have a general better overall sense of choosing, hey, I want to live in this neighborhood or on this street if you go existing. And the third pro that I want to add to buying existing is that you don't have to pay the premium that you're going to get when you build a home. Obviously, building a home comes with a premium because they are building it custom to what you want. When you buy existing, you basically pay what the market is willing to allow, right? The market value is based off of what a buyer is willing to buy for and what a seller is willing to sell for. That's how the market value is determined. And so it's a little bit different of a dynamic when you're buying existing versus building something, because you don't have to pay that premium. Now, that being said, the market kind of dictates what you're going to pay. You don't actually get to decide that, because it depends on the timing, it depends on interest rates, it depends on the house itself. So there's a lot of factors still that go into this, but you don't necessarily have that premium. You are paying more of what you might consider, to be the fair market value of that particular home. Now let's run into the cons of buying an existing home. The first one I want to talk about is that you are going to enter into a competitive market. At the time of this recording and over the past couple of years, honestly, the Utah market has been very competitive. It is not uncommon to see 5, 10, even 15 offers on one single home when you go and submit an offer on it. Especially if it's priced right and it's in a good location and it's a good home, it's going to get multiple offers and it's going to sell quickly. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, that can be kind of discouraging going into that, because you might make an offer on a home, and even though you might make a really good offer, somebody else might make a better offer that beats yours out. So that is one of the negatives to having to buying an existing home, is that you are going to have to compete against other people. Whereas if you'll remember, when building a home, you basically go to the builder, say I want to build, and that's it. The second con is that you're not going to get any builder's warranties, and you might have some repairs or upgrades that you need to make to the home. Depending on the home itself and how old it is, or the condition that it's been kept up in, you might have some repairs, right? Maybe the furnace needs to be replaced. Maybe the roof needs to be replaced. Maybe the carpet is torn to shreds because little Skip absolutely destroyed it, right? These are things that you might have to face when you're buying an existing home. No home's going to be perfect, especially after it's been lived in. So just something to kind of take into account there, that each individual home is going to have its own problems that you might need to account for based on how old it is and how well it's been kept up. And the third con to buying an existing home is that if you go with an older home, you might not get the layout or the style that you really want. Oftentimes the layouts and the style of materials that they used when these homes were built, back in the 1980s or the 1960s or the 1940s, are just not really what we like here in the year 2021, right? So these are going to be changes that you kind of have to get adapted to, right? You might get an older home that has a poor layout, or maybe the materials are not that good, or maybe it's just not really the style that you want. So these are some of the cons that you have with buying existing, where again, as we compare that back to building something new, you're much more likely to get a home that kind of matches the traditional modern style that we now have. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, give me a thumbs up here on the video, and also consider sharing this video with a friend, a family member, or a spouse who might also be interested in learning some of the pros and cons to buying an existing home or building a new one. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to reach out to me if you're making that move here to Salt Lake City or to any of the surrounding areas, whether that's Park City, it's Provo, it's Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, Ogden, anywhere in between. Make sure to get in touch with me. I absolutely love it when you guys reach out, and I can't wait to hear from you as well. I've had people from all across the world reach out, even Dubai, Japan, South Africa, all over the world, and I can't wait to hear from you guys as well. So all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.